I've seen bigger willies on a newborn.
17-year-old Xavier's hands shot to his crotch, but it was too late. His training school classmates had all seen his naked body, including his crush, Nisha. Thomas had stitched him up like a kipper. The bastard had stolen his clothes while he was washing off in the river after archery practice. Nisha looked away as Xavier stood trembling in the winter sunlight.
Did you see Xavier's willy? It looked like a prune.
Xavier's face burned.
All right, Alice, do you want to shut it?
He snapped, snatching up a tattered old training school banner to cover himself up with. Was there any coming back from humiliations like this?
You really are a loser, mate. No wonder your mum killed herself and your dad did a runner. The shame of having a son like you.
Xavier lunged at Thomas, but his foot slid in a puddle of mud, and he went down hard on his back in the damp grass. The kid's laughter got louder. Thomas stood over him.
Bloody hell, my baby sister can fight better than you.
Thomas had no idea that in 6 months' time, Xavier would become one of the most formidable fighters in history. But neither did Xavier. Right now, he was just a naked, humiliated loser. And then, Thomas took it too far.
And what would your skanky dead mum say if she could see the state of you now?
The laughter suddenly died, and something snapped inside Xavier as he got to his feet.
Roast me all you like, but say a word about my mum and I'll kill you.
Chants of "Fight! Fight! Fight!" rang out as Xavier closed in on Thomas. Before he could think, Xavier grabbed Thomas's collar and hurled him towards the water tower. Thomas looked like a rag doll who'd been flung through the air by a giant. How did he do that? Xavier could barely win an arm wrestle. And then, crash! Thomas smashed into the building hard, splintering wood and shaking the ground.
Holy shit!
Xavier looked down at his hands.
Did I really just do that?
Then a loud voice cut through the chaos.
What the hell is going on here?
It was Priest Jeffrey, head of the training school, and he was tearing out the main academy doors, his robes billowing behind him.
You're gonna regret that, Xavier, you small-cocked orphan.
And with that, Thomas staggered to his feet, blood trailing down his cheek.
Get your clothes on and get to my chamber right now, Xavier Darrow.
Nisha flashed Xavier a worried look. Shit. Was he going to be thrown out of the training school? He would be a washed-up nobody as well as a naked nobody. He'd have to become a court jester or a rat catcher. A few minutes later, Xavier sat in the priest's candlelit stone chamber.
I've put up with your underwhelming grades for a long time, but violence outside of combat practice is completely unacceptable.
He insulted my mum.
He'd barely touched Thomas compared to what he deserved.
Are you trying to throw your future away, Darrow?
Priest Jeffrey's voice was like a hammer striking stone.
Because if you keep this up, you'll be out of this academy before you can blink. And you'll be lucky to end up as a tanner's boy, spending your days knee-deep in piss and shit, scraping rotting flesh from animal hides.
Xavier shuddered.
One more cock-up, and you're out. Out of Marcus Academy and out of District 2. You'll be dumped in District 5, with all the beggars, sewer sifters, and slop sellers.
An hour later, Xavier trudged back to his uncle's wooden house in District 3, the area where most of Marcus's middle-tier residents lived and labored. He didn't know it, but his life was about to change.
Young man, you've got fire in you.
Xavier's head snapped up. It was a man he recognized, the workman who'd fixed the damaged water tower. He was in his late 50s with silver hair swept back from his face and wearing simple linen tabard and trousers. His sharp eyes made him look old and young at the same time.
You have a gift, boy. Where did you learn to fight?
Xavier almost laughed. Him? A fighter? He was the wimp, the loser, the kid Thomas and his gang trampled on daily. And yet something fierce had stirred inside Xavier since the day he lost his mum.
How did you lose your mother?
What? How do you know I lost my mum?
The man's eyes were kind, and suddenly Xavier was back there. Back at the Healers Guild, the air stinking of death, on the awful day his mum, Dana, died. Her breaths were shallow as she clutched his hand.
I need to tell you something, Xavier.
something that will change your life forever.
Mum, don't talk, just rest.
He could tell she was slipping away.
You're special, my boy.
She was trying to tell him a secret that would change everything.
Promise me you'll keep this secret.
Xavier nodded. Then she pressed something into his palm.
It's tied to who you really are.
Xavier looked down to see a ring, but a split second later it was swept out of his hand by a healing woman.
Contamination risk.
Xavier frowned, then looked back to his mum.
Mum, I'm just a 10-year-old Marcus Academy kid from District 3, destined to be average.
You are more than that, son.
Then she gasped, and a violent shudder went through her frail body.
Xavier, your destiny was written in the stars. One day you will see your father again and you will become...
But then her voice cut off, and her body went still. Xavier's beautiful and brave single mum was gone. He hit the floor, sobbing, and in the heartache, clean forgot about the ring. Instead, his mind was full of questions. What was his mum about to say? What would he become one day? And what did she mean about his father? His dad was a selfish prick who'd abandoned them years ago, without an explanation. Back in the present, Xavier coughed, realizing he'd just spilled his life story to the workman.
Your mother knew.
He beckoned to a food stall across the dirt track.
Come, I'll buy you a pie and we'll talk.
Xavier didn't hesitate. His stomach had been running on fumes all day. As he tucked into his mutton pie and watered down wine from the food cart, the man finally spoke to him.
My name is Kellen, and I can teach you to fight, to harness that fire.
Why would you help me?
Right now, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. Your world is about to change, but first, you need to learn how to control your power, before it controls you.
Power? I don't have any.
You will have, and sooner than you think.
Xavier didn't think the day could get any weirder, but as he reached the front door of his uncle's home an hour later, the air around him began to hum and vibrate.
What the?
Xavier choked as a sudden flash of green light flickered around him.
Something's happening to me.
But then, as suddenly as the weirdness had started, it stopped. Was he hallucinating? Later, over dinner of a lumpy stew, Xavier's cold and distant uncle muttered.
You're lucky the Academy didn't expel you.
We'll kick you out if we have more trouble.
Xavier huffed and headed out into the small dirt yard at the back of the house. He lay across his makeshift couch of millet sacks, but he couldn't relax. He kept replaying the day in his head. How had he managed to pick up Thomas and smash him into the water tower? Who was the workman, Kellen? Why had he never seen him at school before? And why the hell had the sky turned green? The next day at Marcus Academy, life was back to normal. Falconry, folklore, 3 hours of jousting practice, and endless humiliation. He wasn't just orphan scum anymore. He was Raisin Dick.
Hey, Xavier.
Nisha was his crush, and she'd seen him completely naked yesterday on the riverbank. Her best friend had even started the Raisin Dick nickname. He felt his cheeks burn red.
Hey, Nisha.
Listen, I can't go to the market with you this weekend, after all.
Is it because of yesterday? I was cold, Nisha, and wet.
It's not that.
She blushed, knowing Xavier was referring to the size of his willy.
If you must know, I don't like unnecessary violence. You scared me yesterday.
Xavier's heart dropped. He couldn't get anything right. That night, he was moping around the yard when his fingers brushed a small, crumpled piece of parchment in his pocket. It was Kellen's address. "You have a gift," the man had said. Xavier stared at the piece of paper.
Well, what do I have to lose?
20 minutes later, he arrived at Kellen's ordinary-looking wooden house on the outskirts of District 3.
Welcome, Xavier.
Xavier expected to see a hearth, a cooking pot, a simple wooden table and stools, like in his own simple abode. But as the door swung open, he was surprised to see a pristine, empty space with a smooth, polished floor, that gleamed in the lantern light, and the air was fragrant with rosemary.
A true fighter doesn't strike out of anger. You fight when it's necessary, not when they want you to.
Then, in a blur of motion, the man struck his palm towards Xavier's chest, stopping a breath away before flowing into a downward elbow strike.
Whoa!
This guy was the dog's, like a warrior monk from some forgotten order.
Sometimes the nearest weapon is the best one. Are you ready to learn, Xavier?
Xavier didn't hesitate. The next day at school felt different. Xavier ignored the piss-taking, and for the first time didn't feel like prey. The fire inside him that had burned since his mum died suddenly had direction, and training with Kellen became his life. The drills were brutal and pushed Xavier to his limits, but he loved it. He felt pumped as he dodged, countered and struck, and got battered up and bruised. Then, one evening at Kellen's, he met her. Charlotte, the new girl from the academy, and one of Kellen's new trainees. She was beautiful and deadly, like a blade in human form.
You're wasting energy.
She murmured to him one night, nudging his shoulder to correct his battle stance.
You watching me that closely, Shah?
Maybe I am.
Is she flirting with me?
The cheeky grin she gave him told him the answer was yes. From that moment, they trained together, walked home together, and bonded over everything. Xavier even told her about his mother's death and his father's disappearance. Then one evening in Kellen's courtyard under the stars, Charlotte leaned in.
Are you ever going to kiss me, Xavier? Or must I do everything myself?
Xavier's heart hammered, but before he could answer, she kissed him. For the first time in forever, everything felt right. And yet, fortune's wheel hadn't stopped turning for Xavier. A couple of weeks later, one Monday morning, the academy corridors fell silent as Xavier walked in. Thomas, his old arch nemesis, was watching him, like the cat who'd got the cream.
Oi, wretch! Did Charlotte tell you the news?
Xavier's stomach twisted. He hadn't seen Charlotte in days.
She was only slumming it with you, mate. She's got a new fella now, in District 1.
Xavier's blood turned to ice. District 1 was where the real warriors, the ones close to gods and goddesses, lived.
First, your mum throws herself off a bridge, and now your girl leaves you for someone better. Tell me, loser, does it get boring being abandoned?
And then that same something that had snapped inside Xavier before snapped again. Heat surged through his veins, like that night the air had turned green. And suddenly, there was a loud boom! A shockwave tore through the academy halls. Iron bars shot from the window casements, benches wrenched from their bolts, stone tiles cracked like glass, and screams rang out while Xavier stood in the middle of it all, noticing the air had turned green. It was the beginning of the end. He was instantly expelled. And by the time he reached his uncle's home, his belongings had already been thrown in the dirt, dumped, expelled, homeless, all in one day. By nightfall, Xavier was on the streets, too ashamed to visit Kellen and too hurt to turn to Charlotte. He curled up in a merchant's doorway.
I'm going to end up as a shit collector in District 5 of Marcus, unless I can think of some way to turn this around.
But by the next night, nothing had changed. His stomach gnawed with hunger, and he'd found a new doorway to hide in. And that's when he saw them. Kellen and Charlotte. Xavier shrank into the shadows, but their voices carried in the night air.
We searched everywhere for him. I know he and I can't be together, and I'm never to see him again. But I didn't want to hurt him like this.
You must go to District 1, Charlotte.
Xavier's breath caught. District 1? So Thomas was right? Charlotte had found herself a real warrior. He'd always known she was a goddess. Why the hell would she want him? Then he saw Kellen press a coin pouch glistening with gold into Charlotte's palm.
You played your part well with Xavier. He'll never know the truth.
Xavier couldn't breathe. Had they tricked him? Had Kellen paid Charlotte to be with him? Why? Shame poured through him. He got up and ran. He'd be better off in shitty District 5 than here. But then a voice stopped him as he reached the town square. He turned to see Kellen.
You think Charlotte betrayed you?
I know she did. She was with someone else all along. She's from District 1, and you paid her to get close to me.
You have it very wrong.
Then tell me the truth.
The truth is, you must forget your life here. Forget me and forget Charlotte. Your true path awaits you in District 1.
Yeah, sure. Like a loser like me belongs in District 1.
But then a sudden gust of wind tore through the alley. Whoosh! And it was like the air ripped open. Suddenly, a blinding swirl of light twisted into an enormous glowing archway. Not a doorway, more like a portal.
What the bloody hell is that?
District 1, where your real journey begins. But first, you have to take a leap of faith.
Kellen calmly pointed at the mystical portal.
You want me to step through that?
There's someone waiting for you on the other side.
What? Who?
Then a voice from the past called out for Xavier, and a figure appeared in the doorway.
Dad.
Xavier gasped, and without thinking, he stepped through the portal. Xavier hit the ground hard, as if he'd just stepped out of a first-floor window. 1 second, he was stepping through a weird golden portal. The next, he was flat on his back, staring up at a sky so deep blue it looked unreal. He pushed himself up and called for his dad. But there was no sign of him, and the voice had faded.
Your dad is a cheating prick, dude, remember?
He took in this new world, where golden rooftops gleamed in the sun, and people in slick battle armor, like liquid silver, walked by. Hanging from the streetlights were billowing flags and signs bearing the words, Marcus, District 1. Xavier gasped, taking it all in. For the next 10 minutes, he tried to stay hidden as he got his bearings. There was no sign of his dad, Kellen, or Charlotte, but he had a good feeling about this place. District 3 and his old life as the school loser could suck it. Was this the end of his life as a downtrodden, bullied orphan? Not quite. If Xavier thought he'd reached the promised land that easily, he was wrong, because something was about to rain on his parade.
Oi, who the hell are you?
Xavier turned quickly to see a group of guys about his age approaching him. Their leader, a handsome dark-haired guy with a big scar down his left cheek, looked him up and down.
Are you a lost beggar? Have you crawled in from the gutters?
He's from District 5. What the hell is he doing here? Who let him in?
Go back to where you came from, you shit-shoveling sewer rat!
But then the dark-haired leader shushed them.
Lads, give this rancid beggar a chance to speak.
Xavier looked down at his scruffy, dirty linen clothes and bashed-up sandals.
I'm Angus. Are you the court jester? Brought in for tonight's feast?
Laughter erupted and Xavier's stomach twisted. Not this again. Was he to be the butt of all the jokes in District 1, too? Was he destined to be a loser?
Mate, chill. I don't want any trouble. I've come here to live. You and I are likely to be friends soon.
The man named Angus roared with laughter. Worse was to come. A chariot pulled up and out stepped a beautiful young woman, about his age.
Princess Laura.
Angus and his gang cooed, clearly smitten. She had almond green eyes, red hair that cascaded over her shoulder, and sumptuous velvet robes.
Put this low-life loser in the stocks.
Glaring at Xavier like he was shit on her shoe. Who was this young scruff bag? She thought. He was completely out of place. He had the wrong clothes, wrong face, wrong attitude. He wasn't even good enough to scrub the floors.
I have a basket of rotting fruit. We'll invite the townsfolk to pelt him with it until he can take no more. Then he'll know we don't want District 5 scum like him in Marcus.
It all happened so quickly after that. Angus picked him up, escorted him towards some massive wooden structure, shoved his head into a round hole, then locked his wrists in place. A small crowd had gathered, and the stench of rotten veg filled Xavier's nostrils. He lifted his eyes to see Angus, his gang, and the townspeople were all clutching moldy aubergines. Xavier was just steeling himself for a pelting. when a thunderous voice made everyone freeze.
Let him go at once. Angus of Ashen, you should be ashamed. Sorry, Chief Robert. Just a bit of fun.
Xavier lifted his head, then gasped.
Fuck my life, it's you.
Who? Who had saved Xavier?
Yes, it's me, Xavier, your father.
Xavier gulped as his dad got him out of the stocks. Meanwhile, his tormentors fled, leaving them alone. Xavier suddenly felt very ashamed, but this made him angry. He'd not seen his dad for years. He was going to get it with both barrels.
What are you doing here, Dad? Why did you abandon us? Why weren't you there when Mum died? Why did you leave me with your stupid, selfish brother and his wife?
As the words gushed out of his mouth, hot tears began to fall down Xavier's face.
And another thing, how the hell have I ended up in District 1? This place is for elite fighters and demigods and goddesses.
His father dismounted his horse and knelt down beside him.
Son, all I can say is, there's a lot you don't understand yet.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Everything will become clear soon, my boy. But first you need to do something very important for the family name.
Like what?
Get on the back of my horse, and I'll show you.
A few minutes later, they arrived in front of a colossal stone arena that stretched into the sky, its towers fluttering with brightly colored flags.
Ready?
Richard Darrow asked, tying up his horse and leading Xavier into the arena. It was bigger than anything Xavier had ever seen. The lower stands were filled with hundreds of people in jewel-colored cloaks, and Xavier started to feel very uneasy. Was this a trap? What was going on? He looked down at himself. He was still wearing his faded tunic and scruffy trousers. Then a voice boomed across the arena.
The newcomer has arrived with his father, Chief Robert of the Darrow clan. We've arranged for him to take the power challenge.
Gasps rippled around the stands, and a group of wise-looking warriors circled Xavier.
Savior of District 3, you are to be tested.
An old man led Xavier to a massive stone pillar, which had a glowing crystal at its center.
This will measure your strength, Xavier. Place your hand on it.
Good luck, my son. This is your moment.
Xavier didn't know what the hell was going on. But what could he do other than what the elder had asked of him? He took a deep breath before touching the stone and thought of his mum. Then, all of a sudden, the fire he'd been experiencing for the last 6 months began to surge through his veins again. He pictured all the people who'd called him Racing Dick and orphan scum in the past, and the second his skin connected with the crystal, it flashed gold, and a humongous bang tore through the air. Next, all hell broke loose again. The ground rumbled, and golden letters burst into the sky like fireworks, saying, 9 battle stars. The elders, the guards, his father, and the townsfolk suddenly fell silent, as if in shock. But before he had time to work out what was going on, the voice over the tannoy announced,
Take him to his true destination.
And with that, Xavier was bundled into a carriage and rushed away in a flurry of horse hooves. His head was spinning. What did it all mean? Had he done terribly badly? Where was he being taken? Would his father abandon him again? Had he let him down? Why had everyone looked so shocked? Not long later, Xavier's carriage jerked to a stop in front of a majestic stone building. At the sound of the carriage, the main doors flew open, and a pair of masked attendants led him in through the door, across a grand hallway, up a sweeping staircase, and into a marbled chamber with a claw-footed bathtub at its center. The window next to it overlooked a vast, empty arena.
What's going on?
But it was like everyone had taken a vow of silence. Was he about to be thrown naked into the arena and forced to fight someone to the death? But then a woman stepped forward from an antechamber, and Xavier's breath caught in his throat. She was stunning, tall, elegant, and wrapped in flowing silk. Her hair cascaded down her back like dark waves. She looked him up and down.
Strip.
I'll keep my clothes on if that's okay.
But she only looked at him quizzically.
But how are we meant to prepare you in that case? You are to be bathed before the feast.
She gestured to the massive stone bath. It was steaming, filled with oils and flower petals. It looked so inviting.
There is no shame here, warrior.
The woman started to peel off what was left of Xavier's ruined clothes. As soon as he was naked, the woman guided him down into the hot water. When he was in, her touch was gentle. She poured warm water over his shoulders and worked her fingertips through his hair, massaging oils into his scalp. Xavier felt the tension in his shoulders melt, and holy hell, his manhood was popping up from the water. No one would call that a shriveled-up prune. The woman didn't seem to have noticed, thank God.
You're strong, but you have been treated poorly.
Xavier turned to look at her.
You don't think I'm a sewer rat?
A small, amused smile appeared on her lips.
Only a fool would call a lion a rat.
Xavier swallowed. What the hell was happening? By the time the woman had finished pampering him, he barely recognized himself. His hair was brushed. His skin was glowing from the scented oils. A bunch of attendants had brought in fresh clothes, and he was now wearing a modest yet smart brown karate-style robe and trousers, with a warrior's belt inlaid with gold around his waist. Xavier exhaled sharply as the woman appeared, and placed a ring he hadn't seen in years on his finger. It was the ring his mother had tried to give him.
There, now you are ready.
Please tell me what is going on.
Hush, warrior. You'll find out soon enough.
Outside, a carriage awaited, and Xavier climbed in. The ride passed in silence, just like before. Then, at last, the carriage rolled to a stop before a grand palace, where it seemed the entire kingdom of Marcus had gathered. The building was adorned with velvet banners embroidered with golden phoenixes, and beneath this were the words, "Behold our new chief warrior."
Someone's in for a good night.
Xavier walked a marble path through the building and into a grand banqueting hall. The vast space was packed with people. People who looked like nobles, warriors, and scholars. Then, from the royal dais, a familiar voice cut through the noise.
Oh, look. If it isn't the pathetic street rat, what's he doing here?
Xavier looked up to see Princess Lara, the young woman who'd ordered the townsfolk to pelt him with fruit until he went back to where he belonged. She was draped in silks, adorned with gemstones, and exuded nobility and arrogance. If he was about to be kicked out of Marcus, at least Xavier would never have to see her snotty face again. And just to make matters worse, she was sitting next to that arsehole Angus.
What the hell are you doing here, District 5 prick? I should get the guards to throw your lowly arse out of here. But I'll let it wait. You can see what you're missing. See what you can only dream of being a part of.
Angus was cut off by the sound of loud trumpets as a set of heavy doors swung open at the end of the room. A loud voice announced,
"All stand for the King of Marcus."
Xavier watched, stunned, as a middle-aged man in a glistening crown and sumptuous robes made his way into the hall. But Angus was too angry to stay reverent.
Your Royal Highness, before proceedings begin, I must make you aware of an invader. A low-born wretch who does not belong here has snuck into this ceremony.
All eyes landed on Xavier, including the king's.
Kill me now.
But His Majesty didn't look as if he were about to kick him out. Instead, the king turned his head to Angus and shouted,
"Silence!"
Angus froze, and his superior expression drained from his face. The king stepped towards him.
"Angus, kneel before Xavier."
Xavier's heart pounded. Had he heard that right?
"Did you hear me, Angus? Kneel before Xavier."
Angus sank to one knee. He looked Xavier right in the eye, then bowed his head. You could have heard a pin drop. Xavier looked around, bewildered. Lara's smirk had vanished.
"Kneel, all of you."
And then the mightiest of Marcus began dropping to their knees, one by one. They were all looking at Xavier as if he was a legend, not a loser. Xavier's mind reeled. Then the king himself knelt before Xavier, bowed his head, and pressed his lips to the ring on Xavier's finger. When the king rose, he turned to the gathered crowd.
"Behold the true strength of Marcus. Xavier of District 3, battle hero of 9 stars."
Then he took Xavier's hand and strode towards Princess Lara. Xavier stiffened. What was going on? The air around this girl was as cold as the silver trim on her robes. The king held Princess Lara's hand too, and the crowd hushed. Then, with a sweeping gaze over his people, the king pressed Xavier and Lara's hands together.
Bear witness, all of Marcus. To Princess Lara, a warrior unmatched, and to Xavier, the hero of 9 stars. Behold a union unlike any before, one forged in destiny, power, and the will of the stars.
What? Xavier mouthed, heart thudding.
You heard it here first, Marcus. Tonight, these 2 young warriors are to be betrothed. They will marry when they both come of age at 21.
That was then. 3 years later, the engagement to Princess Lara was still on, but the golden glow around Xavier was tarnished.
Eat my dust, loser!
Right now, his face was being ground into the dirt by a foot on the back of his neck. He had lost a fight, not to a warrior or an elder, but to a kid, a first-year academy student who hadn't expected to win, and now couldn't stop gloating.
Yeah, I let you win.
He was lying. He'd faltered again. His strikes had been slow lately, his movements sluggish. Why? Why was this happening? Why wasn't he fighting like a legend anymore? He was supposed to be the hero of 9 stars. A shadow loomed over him. It was one of the Academy elders.
Let's hope that was the bad rehearsal before the good performance, Xavier Darrow. The power challenge will determine your fate. Get cleaned up and report to the arena.
As Xavier got up, drips of sweat ran down his brow. The truth was, he was shit scared. People still treated him like a demigod, but he had a feeling something bad was going to happen at the power challenge.
You're a hero, Xavier. Letting a first year kick your ass like that. You've made his day.
Xavier turned to see his good friend, Sunny, who introduced herself as a friend of his ex, Charlotte, whom he'd not seen in years. Sunny was always there to encourage him, and like her name, was a bright spark.
Sunny, I didn't gift that kid a win. I genuinely just got flattened by him.
Huh? What's going on with you?
Xavier wanted to lie, to say it was just an off day, but Sunny was smart.
I don't know. It's like something's missing, Sunny. I don't feel like me anymore. My body doesn't move the way it used to. My power feels like it's slipping away.
And you've got the power challenge next.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
Yeah, shit.
Well, if you fail, at least you'll finally have an excuse to run away from that engagement to Lara.
Please, let's not add that to my list of problems.
Enough talking. Time for the challenge, Xavier.
You've got this, Z.
The elder led him away. His heart pounded as he walked through towering stone corridors toward the arena, where the crowd buzzed like a swarm of hornets. As Xavier stepped into the Grand Colosseum, his stomach dropped. Thousands of eyes were on him. The king stood at the royal dais, watching intently. His father was there, and so was his cold fiancée, Princess Lara. The elder motioned him toward the center of the arena.
Step forward, Warrior Darrow.
His legs felt stiff as he moved. The sun was glaring down on him, making his breath short and shallow. The crowd hushed. This was it. The power challenge had made him a hero 3 years ago, but now he had to prove himself again. Would the legendary battle hero of 9 stars live up to his legend, or was he about to fall from grace? Xavier's heart pounded against his ribs as he stood before the massive crystal sphere, pulsing with energy. It had once recognized his power without hesitation. But now, what if it didn't? Sweat dripped down his back. He flexed his fingers, trying to steady them, but his hand trembled as he reached out. Will Xavier still have his power? Or has the hero of 9 stars fallen forever? Will Xavier meet his love Charlotte once again? Or will the storm of fate keep their hearts divided forever? What happens next? To find out more, listen to Battle Through the Heavens, only on the Pocket FM app. Click the download link below the video and start listening for free right now.